But as I went to get a cup of coffee, I saw your two beautiful children in the conference room doing their work, schoolwork, and just very mannerly and just gazing into those computer monitors as they were probably gazing into the future. So, Lenny, you've done such a great job with that, but you too have to believe, and Natalie has to believe for her son, it's all about the future, isn't it? That's why we do what we do. Whether I was your age, Lenny, your age, Natalie, or my age now, it's about passing on something of value to future generations.
And it also goes back to something that Natalie said in the second hour, which is, can you pass on something tangible to them, but also make hope tangible as well? And if we're not creating that in modern day America, where people can believe that the American system of government, of economics and the like, can allow them to go from a previous lot in life that they don't like to a better lot in life with hard work and belief and persistence, then the belief in what we can be as a country, not just for ourselves, but for an example around the world, just starts to fade. And I think that one of the things that we need to really have come out of this election and future elections, 2026 and the like, is we need to start having political leaders that infuse hope with good public policy so that the hope can be rewarded with progress and success moving forward.
Natalie, go ahead.
And I think we also need to understand that if we want a world to leave to our children, then we've got to start thinking several generations ahead. And that means we need to get serious about what is going on with the climate. And over the weekend, you know, what's happened with Hurricane Helene, we saw a chemical fire happen at biolabs in Georgia, red plumes of smoke in the air. There's a evacuation notice. There was a shelter in place for 90,000 residents. If we want to build back a better nation, it has to start with how are we leaving this country to our children? And the reality is suicide rates are up with adolescents, as is drug use. And I talk to young people all the time on my show and in my life. They feel hopeless because they do not feel as though there is even going to be an earth as we know it in 10, 15, 20 years. And I can't look at them honestly and say that they're crazy because they're not. They're reading. They understand what's going on. We need to get serious about what we're going to do. And there's only one candidate on that stage willing to address and talk about climate solutions at all. And to Lenny's point earlier, you know, I think Kamala Harris can be pushed. She can be encouraged. She can be, willing, I think, to compromise and talk about how we move things forward and have the hard conversations. Whereas Trump, once again, he is just there for himself.
The bottom line is I think that regardless of who wins this election, the American people have to start infusing more hope into what we're doing. I'm sorry, I'm not going to give up my hope in this country. I'm not going to give up my hope in the future. I've watched, and I remind everybody out there that does feel a little pessimistic right now, whether you're young people or older. America went through a civil war. America went through the disappointment after Reconstruction. We went through 2 world wars. We went through the civil rights movement. We went through assassinations and all kind of angst in 1968. We had the malaise of 1970. You know, we went through the aftermath of 9/11. This country has been resilient in finding a way to reinvent itself to be bigger and brighter. I mean, literally 40 years after Jim Crow, and the Democratic Party was the party of Jim Crow. 20 years after that, Jesse Jackson came in second place for the presidential election of 1988, and 20 years after that, Barack Obama was president-elect. This country has an amazing capability to rise above and be a more perfect union if we invest in it the proper way. And I'm not just talking about money, I'm talking about spirit.
All the sacrifices that were made in the 60s, the loss of life, Dr. King, Martin Luther King, Bobby, Jack Kennedy, all of the things we went through, civil rights, the fire hoses, the police dogs.
Malcolm X assassination, Edgar's assassination.
But here's the thing. It's like we've regressed.
Yeah.
Have we? I mean,
Yes.
we've gone backwards, but we haven't gone all the way back there. And that's one thing we have to make sure we're
People
mindful
hanging
of.
Nazi symbols on bridges in Pittsburgh.
And yet we don't have black people hanging from trees all over the place.
Thank
so that,
God.
I want people to kind of recalibrate how they view this. Yes, are we regressing? Are we going in the wrong direction in some regards? Yes. Have we gone all the way back? No.
I mean,
so I think that we have not gone all the way back. We have a black mayor in the city of Pittsburgh, and you couldn't have a black person leading a corporation in the city of Pittsburgh not that long ago. This is one of the worst places by statistics for an African American to live in.
The hate speak is horrible.
That's different than what the hate speech is horrible, and it's not the same as the living condition.
But I do think, though, our Black maternal health is not great, and this is one of the worst cities in the country
for
Black women.
That too.
And also I would say, we have regressed if you're a woman, because I have less rights than my grandmother did, and that is because of what's happening with abortion. If I don't have the right over my own body, I don't have the right to choose my destiny. We've also regressed because of COVID. It set women back, oh my gosh, 100 years in terms of pay equity. So there are a lot of huge things that we need to...
It hasn't set us back 100 years.
Yes, I think it is actually over 100 years.
Have there been...
In terms of the divide. But what I want to say too is, that's okay. What I want to say though is I will always be an optimist, because I love this country because of what you said. We are resilient, and it is not the governments, it's not the corporations, it's the people. It is the people. It always has been the people. It always will be the people. And if we could get rid of that tribalism mentality and recognize that I am you and you are me, my gosh, the world we could create.
Here's the key, though, and I'm not saying...
I'm not dressing like Natalie, though, so I'm not going to be that much like her. She can maybe, but anywho.
But like Kamala Harris...
You look good in a suit, though.
Kamala Harris has said... I know, I'm jealous. Kamala Harris has said it's about moving forward.
Yeah.
And that's what we have to do in this nation. Somebody's got to say, look, the past is the past. Don't look in the rearview mirror. Let's work together moving forward. And when this election is all said and done, get behind the president and let's get moving forward. And that's what we have to do in America. And what worries me about Donald Trump, he'll be stuck in the past. It will be 4 years of nothing but revenge. And I'm telling you right now, in my humble opinion, I don't know if our country can survive a year of that, let alone 4 years.
If Donald Trump doesn't win this election, you're going to go through a lot of that. I mean, you just showed us a screenshot of Vivek Ramaswamy is thinking about running for governor of Ohio.
Right.
Boy.
That's going to be a lot of that type of rhetoric, especially if he catches momentum. You still have some of these young guns that are now elected into office that purport this type of rhetoric. I mean, so either way, you're going to have this. It kind of goes back to what Natalie and I were saying previously, which is it's going to take the American people to kind of recalibrate American politics. The bottom line is, American politics is still a consumer system. These politicians exist and they're successful because somebody's voting for them and voting for them repeatedly.
I want to give you each a minute. Natalie, you're on the clock. You got a minute. Go ahead.
Oh, for like a final statement?
Yes,
Shoot, I've already lost time. Okay. I really believe that in order to move forward, we actually have to acknowledge our past and learn from it. And I do not think the United States has done that when it comes to racial or gender equity. And so in order to actually move forward, we have to acknowledge where we've been and actually make changes politically and policy-wise that support us and not just rhetoric.
The American people want visionary leadership where they're going to have to start demanding it, and then they're going to have to start voting for it. And they can't vote the ways they've been voting and then wonder why they keep getting the same exact thing they've always been getting. And I think that maybe 2024 is a good time to pivot into something better. And definitely going into 25 and 26, there are definitely going to be opportunities to be better and brighter.